A simple postcard. The Cornish coast at Bude. A simple message. And a simple address. Or is it? But what is it that attracted me to this postcard? Well, it was the Denbigh Council. Obviously, I live in Denbigh. And therefore, this will join my Denbigh collection. But I thought I'd look a little bit deeper. So as we go deeper, we'll have a look what it says first of all. Many thanks for PC, which is code for postcard. Hope you are enjoying yourself. We are having a lovely time. Best love from May Hammond. And it's to Miss Muriel Lloyd, Arswitva, St. Asaph. It looks like St. Asaph, but it's that line that goes down there, so she has got the H. North Wales. The year... Could it be 06? I don't know. Maybe not. What do I know about May Hammond? Nothing, I'm afraid. What do I know about Miss Muriel Lloyd? A little bit. Well, I know certainly more than I know about May. So this is Miss Muriel Ann Lloyd. She was one of 3 daughters to Dr. Henry Lloyd, who was a practising physician and surgeon in St. Asaph and was well known and well respected. They lived at this address, which is on Mount Road. Now, if you were to come from Denbigh into St. Asaph, instead of turning left at the cathedral down the hill, you go straight across, and then on the first block on the left stands this fine house, and the family owned that house. Henry Lloyd himself was born a couple of miles from me, so it's on the Ruthin direction. So a couple of miles towards Ruthin, there's a place called Llanrydder. His father owned land. By that I mean he had farming acreage, over 200 acres, and he had cattle and he had, cowmen and all this sort of stuff. Big family, possibly an important family, and maybe they had some money, I don't know, but it must have been enough for Henry to qualify as a doctor and for him to subsequently earn enough money so that all of his daughters went into medicine after him. Muriel herself trained in 1907, October 1907, in the London School of Medicine for Women. So possibly there was a different, there was a training hospital for men and there was a training hospital for women. And she attained an MBBS in 1913 and a postgrad diploma in public health, which was called a DPH, in 1917. Now, of course, this was right in the middle of the First World War, and it was while a student there that she met and subsequently married Dr. Maitland Radford, who we'll have a little look at afterwards. He was in the Royal Army Medical Corps. So Muriel Ann Lloyd became Muriel Ann Radford. She worked in the Children's Hospital in Great Ormond Street, also the Queen's Charlotte's Hospital, maternity hospital this would be, and the National Hospital for Nervous Diseases in Queen Square in London. And in 1918 she gave birth to their only child, Anne Radford, who became later Anne McEwen. Now I've got all this on a bit of a biog that I found on Muriel. Well, actually, I got Anne first, and I found Muriel after this blog. So Muriel is somebody quite important. So from a simple postcard, we're getting to build up a bit of a picture. She went to work for a great number of institutions. The Elizabeth Garrett Anderson Hospital in 1914, Royal Free Hospital for a year, North East Fever Hospital 15 to 17, King Edward Institution 17 to 18, and the St Mary Le Bone Babies Nursing Home 1919 to 1923, which is where I think she found her real calling, which was children, looking after maternity and infant welfare. What else can I tell you about her? She was involved in most. I mean, I could just reel off these hospitals: St Pancras School for Mothers, Infants Hospital of Vincent Square, Hornsey Municipal Maternity and Child. She was inspectors of all of these eventually, right up to the Westminster Health Society 1944, Tottenham Maternity Clinic 1944, Stoke Newington. I mean, these are household names, some of them. And she was also associated with something called the Violet Melchett Welfare Centre in Chelsea, all to do with the welfare of children and maternity in particular. Now, her husband joined the RAMC, the Royal Army Medical Corps, in the First World War, survived, and he was called Maitland Radford. He was the son of Ernest Radford and Caroline Maitland, known as Dolly. Ernest and Dolly had a number of friends in the literary and progressive circles. In other words, they knew people like George Bernard Shaw. How about these? H.G. Wells, William Morris. Maitland and Muriel were friends with these people. They were friends with D.H. Lawrence and many of the great writers and thinkers of the age. What else do we know? Well, I'll just pull it down a little bit. Their child, Anne, did become quite a writer and influencer throughout her years. She also married, had 2 daughters. By that time, of course, I think she was called McEwen when she married. So we're losing, by 2 or 3 generations, that sort of name. The daughter was born in 1918, as I've said, and died in 2008. She was actually a town planner. She married a John Wheeler and later the journalist Malcolm McEwen, and she had 3 daughters, so she was a grandmother of 3 daughters. So from a humble, or maybe possibly the humble beginnings of a farm, a couple of miles from me, we have somebody who's made quite an influence on maternity, child welfare, grew her family, grew her grandchildren, mixed with intelligentsia, mixed with people who are household names. And yet we have a very simple postcard from one girl to another. When I look at 06, if she's going down to London in 07, that's probably a year after this. Yeah, not sure. And I do think it is George V rather than Edward VII. But it just shows from a very humble, if you've got a postcard and you've got a name and an address, Muriel Lloyd. Lloyd is very common, especially around here. Muriel, not so much. But what I did was I thought, well, I'll tap this name into the census records, which are all online, and see what comes up. And blow me, this is the key. This opened it all. This address opened it all. And suddenly you've got this address appearing all the way back to the 1881 census, with the Lloyd family being there. So that is really helpful for, tracing a bit of postal history. This is a historic piece. Now, possibly when the daughter died, maybe some of her letters and her postcards sort of went into, the public, not arena as such, but somehow it became available on Facebook for a £5, including postage, and it was just something I had to have. Not because of Muriel herself, Muriel, what would I call her? Dr. Muriel Radford, or would I call her Muriel Lloyd? Possibly Lloyd. But I bought it simply for the Denbigh Council, and then this opens another piece of, it gives life to a postcard. It gives life. Obviously, Muriel had sent a postcard to May Hammond. She does say, thanks for the postcard. Postcards were delivered within a day. So you send it on the Monday, it would go there on the Tuesday. There were 5 or 6 posts. First World War, it would take 3 days, only 3 days from the Somme to homes in Britain because of the number of posts. Now we have 1 post every 2 days, I think. Don't quote me on that. They say, oh no, we have posts. But I remember in my time, when I first, probably back in the 80s, there were 2 posts a day. Now there is 1 post a day. Though there are people who come and deliver parcels and stuff. So that can happen at any time. So this is an interesting postcard for me. It is actually a piece of... It hasn't been written on by Muriel herself, but it's been handled by her. So she has received this, and she kept all her letters, all her cards, all her correspondence have been kept. There is an actual collection of them in the Wellcome Institute. Wellcome is a big, chemist thing, tablets and I don't know, you know what the word is. I can't reach the word. Pharmaceutical, that's it. Wellcome the pharmaceuticals. She left all her letters and correspondence to them. This has managed to slip out, and I'm pleased to have it. It's St. Asaph. So it's pretty close, pretty close, and it's got Denby on it, which is lovely, and it's got a story to tell. It's opened up a story. It's opened up a life. Unfortunately, Maitland Radford, he died young, 1944, I believe. So he wasn't... I think Muriel lived into the 60s or 70s, possibly. I did look, but I didn't write it all down. But I think it's a nice relic of happy days when you could go to the seaside and send a postcard, and you would receive a postcard back and forth. Good friends, good times. Old Howellians. Both went to Howell School, maybe. May Hammond. If you know, let me know. If you know anything about Muriel Radford or Muriel Lloyd, you let me know. She also wrote, in particularly on medical planning and public health, mostly for the medical journals, and she was a guest lecturer to a number of institutions. She was a founder member of the Central Council for Health Education. To be fair, this is a life well lived, all the way from little St. Asaph, though she had a good start in life, in as much that her father was a doctor, and but she had the intelligence and she had the wit and she had the interest to carry on that good work so that we can enjoy good health to this very, very day. We'll leave it at that for now. I hope you've enjoyed this. It's something a little bit different again. Postal history. It is fascinating stuff, and I haven't taken it out of its. It just goes straight into the Denby collection now. Okay, I'll talk to you very soon, and bye for now.